Hi, everybody.
Hello and welcome, wonderful travel advisors, and welcome to this new session of the Sales Certification course with Archer Travel, hosted by the famous Mike Archer. How you doing today, Mike?
Well, sometimes some people might say infamous, but I'll take it. Thanks.
Nah, you're famous to me.
So, welcome everybody. This is the first session of 7, and today we're going to talk. Basically, I'm just going to walk you through what it is we're going to do, give you a little bit of my background and how I came to be in the selling industry, and why I am kind of a sales trainer. So my background is my very first job was as I was an apartment supply sales guy for a wholesaler in Seattle. And we weren't doing very well. So he put us all through this course called the Sales Training Institute, which is what this course is based on. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. I didn't like the job very well, and I didn't like my boss, so I started looking around for some other things to do. And I found this job in 1984 in the yearbook industry. And so my background is I've got 27 years of selling yearbooks. I worked for a company called Walsworth Publishing in Missouri, and it was at the time it was the smallest of the 4 major yearbook printers, and now it's one of the largest. So in my 27 years, I delivered to the company over $25 million in sales. And when I retired, I was working 90 yearbook accounts from the Canadian border down to the Tacoma area, and from the Cascade Mountains over to the coast. So it was a pretty big territory. And the company found out that I had been a sales trainer, and one of the effects of that was they started a mentoring program, because a lot of the people that that we were recruiting were yearbook advisors who had no selling experience, which is very, very similar to most of your situations, where you're coming into Evolution Travel not knowing how to sell, because your background is, it might be retail, it might be, in the construction industry, you might be a teacher, you could be any number of things. But I would say probably 90% of the people that come into Evolution do not have any kind of a selling background. So a couple of years ago, my brother Ron came to me and wanted to know if I'd be interested in helping, because at the time, Evolution back then was losing. They would bring in, they'd have a lot of people sign up every month, but then they'd lose half of them because the people were scared, they didn't know what to do, they didn't know how to go about doing it. And so Jose developed a program, I developed a program, Archer Travel developed a program with all of the business development people. So I am just one piece of of how you can become a much better travel agent um, in this industry. And my piece is very basic. I'm here to teach you how to sell, and that's it. If you want to sell travel in specific, that's Jose's job. That's Archer Travel's job. That's all the BDM's job. But my job is to walk you through the process of how to sell anything, and then we're going to apply it to how do you sell travel. All right. Where this course comes from is a company called Sales Training Institute. Like I told you, I took this course in the 90s, and I liked this course so much. I asked the guy that was running, his name is Conrad Elness, a dynamite guy, and his background was in insurance. And I asked him if he ever need teachers, and he did, because he wanted to expand into night training. So I taught this class for probably 5 years at night, and it was one of the most fun things I've ever done. And it was fun to watch people get a lot of aha moments. Oh, yeah, I could do this, or I could do this. And so this was what I've done is I've taken essentially a 16-week program that was 2 nights a week, 3 hours a night, and I have taken it down to essentially 7 30 to 45-minute sessions, because in the actual program, probably half the time we spent was role playing. Well, we can't do that in this environment. So a lot of this is going to be how hard you want to work and how much you want to practice. This program does not work if you don't take these skills and practice them. Um, Practice them with your spouses, with your friends. If you are involved in a line and there are people close to you in your upline and your downline, practice it with them so you can see what's going on. So that's what this is. So now the question is, you signed up to be an Evo rep. Now what? So I want to point out one thing here that a lot of people get scared away from selling. Um, and it's like that in a lot of industries. Sales is not who you are. Sales is what you do. And a lot of times people would ask me what I do, and I go, I'm in the yearbook business, rather than saying I'm a yearbook sales rep. And so identifying that you are identified with a profession and that profession isn't you. So if you look at there was a scene in in Top Gun Maverick where Iceman and Maverick are hugging. Cruise says, he says, I don't know what to do. I'm an aviator. His whole life was geared to that is who he is. That was who he was. He wasn't somebody who flew jets for a job. He was the jet. He was the aviator. That's not what this is about. This is about taking your personality, adapting it to a new profession, and then moving on from there. All right. Now, one of the things that really is you need to address this. What is your motivation in becoming a salesperson? For me, my motivation when I went into the apartment business was I was unemployed and I just needed money. So my motivation was money, and I was pretty good at it, but I wasn't as good as I could be. When I went into the yearbook business, the money wasn't a consideration for me as much as I wanted to make a difference in the world. I wanted to help people. And by nature, I'm a teacher. My degree is in education, and I've been working with kids my entire life, my entire adult life, teaching something to somebody, usually in sports. But now that I'm older, not coaching anymore, now this is my primary teaching vehicle, and I just love doing it. So that's my motivation. But what was really funny was when I quit worrying about making money and worrying about being better at my job, the money was a natural byproduct for me. And I'm hoping that's kind of the same for what it is for you guys. All right. So figure out what your motivation is, and then behind that is, what are you worried about? All right. Um, so let's go back to motivation for a bit. So some of you are in this just because you want to take advantage of the travel perks by being a travel agent. Some of you genuinely want to help people enjoy their lives more by helping them get the biggest bang for their buck in their vacations. So what is it? What is your passion? My passion was teaching. Make it your passion. If you can't do that, then this is probably not going to be a business that you're going to be very successful at. What are you worried about? For me, rejection was at the top. I always worried about people telling me no, and it's not a pleasant place to be. So when I worked for Pacific Supply, when I first started working for them, I had this beat up old Datsun pickup, and I had 3 kids and a mortgage coming out my ears and debts coming out my ears. And essentially, our whole lifestyle was just nothing but one big scramble. And this one day, I'm sitting in this cul-de-sac, and there's 5 huge apartment complexes that I'm supposed to call on, which was in my territory. And I can't get out of the truck. I'm paralyzed, all because I was worried about people telling me no. And I sat in that truck. I'm not kidding. I probably sat in the truck for 15 minutes before I actually did get an epiphany. I go, okay, I'm a nice guy. I got some really good stuff to sell. And if these people don't want what I have, I'm going to go find somebody that does. And so in the next 30 days, I made over 400 cold calls on all the apartments in my territory. And in 6 months, I went from the worst sales rep out of 6 to the best sales rep, only because I quit worrying about people telling me no. And here's the funny thing that happened: the less I worried about people telling me no, the less it happened. And I finally figured out it was because of my whole demeanor changed. I had a smile on my face, I had a smile in my voice. I was more upright, my handshake was better, my eye contact was better. I just quit worrying about people telling me no. And that was the whole key to completing my transition into becoming a really good sales guy. I was really good at what I did. Okay. So let's talk about what sales really is. And it's very simple. Sales is a relationship business. It's about showing people why it's better to buy what it is that they want to buy from you rather than buying it from anybody else. Now, let's deal with this relationship business for a while. I'm an older guy. I come out of the 70s and the 80s when there wasn't a lot of, in fact, there was no digital communication. I mean, we had radios, televisions, newspapers, and that was it, and telephones. There was no digital communication like you have today. When you sold something, you had to get face to face, and that's what this course is geared to. This course will not work if you're just going to sit in front of your computer and set up TikTok and Instagram and Facebook websites and hoping people are going to come and click on your site and then answer your whatever that sheet is that you send out to them. Because essentially, when you do that, and Jose pounds on this all the time, when you do that, they're doing your work for you. So why would they want to work for you when they're doing all the initial work? If you get an inquiry, and I've seen a lot of your websites, because I go and I snoop around on Facebook to see if I can find evil websites. And what I find is I see these digital questionnaires go out, but there's never any contact information where you either give your phone number or contact info, or you request theirs so that you can call them. The best way to do this is when you do that stuff, if you're going to initially start out digitally, which is a good way to go because it gets your name out there. But the follow-up is not where you send them out a questionnaire. The follow-up is where you get on the phone and call them, and you start to build the relationship with them, because they're not going to be used to that. And that's what selling is. It's a relationship build business, because your business is built on repeat customers, not getting one at a time and going one to the next one. It's getting those repeat customers. That was the success of Archer Travel Service. When mom and dad started the business in the 50s, dad was constantly calling people after they'd done a trip with him, said, "Hey, how'd your trip go? Let's get together for coffee. Where's your next trip going to take you?" And he just built that relationship. So that's what selling really is. All right. So what are you selling? Okay. Your answer should be you're selling yourself, because that's what you're really selling. You are trying to convince people that it's better to do business with you than anybody else out there. And you're selling you first. Then you're selling your product and your services. And when you think about it, you've been selling yourself your entire life to your kids, your spouses, your bosses, your coworkers, your friends, your acquaintances. You've been selling yourself. That's what your relationships are built on. If you stop and think about it, the core is you're comfortable with your friends because you've gotten to know them, you've sold yourself to them. It's a subtle way of selling, but you get the idea. All right. So there's two primary parts to selling. All right. You're selling travel. And because you're an evolution agent, and this is a multi-level marketing program, you're also being asked to recruit and sell to other people. A lot of you have been talked to by an evolution agent, and you have joined their line, you've joined their team. You're going to be expected to start developing your own team, which is a huge source of income if you really pursue it. Now, some of you are only in it to sell travel, and I get that. But this class is geared to selling. It's not geared to selling travel and recruiting. It's geared to selling in general, which works perfectly for those two aspects of the business that you're starting to develop. All right. So there's two parts to this. Number one, there's an art to selling and there's a science to selling. The science to selling is that there's a specific format under which you want to sell. And the art of selling is applying your own personality to that process. All right. So everybody has different ways of doing things, but the process stays the same. And so that's what we're going to start talking about a little bit. So again, here's the class I was telling you about. It's called Quad Track: question, understand, answer, and decide. And so we're going to spend a lot of time. The first three lessons are nothing but establishing the relationship, establishing the rapport. And then we're going to do some fact finding. We're going to summarize their needs. We're going to figure out how we're going to present to them. We're going to summarize the benefits. And then together, we're going to decide on a course of action. And again, this was an adaptation from my friend Conrad Elness, who developed this program. Okay, so in the process of selling, there's two things you need to manage. You need to manage the process and you need to manage your time. All right. So in managing your time, this is the order of the process, and this has relates to time. All right. First thing you're going to do is you're going to establish a relationship. Initial phone call, initial email. You've gotten on the you've gotten to know them a little bit. You are now in a meeting with them and you're asking them some questions, finding out what they like, who they are, that kind of thing. So then the next thing you're going to do, once you've established a relationship with them, now you're going to start asking them questions about what it is they want to do, where do they want to go, how much do they have to spend. You're going to ask all of those questions. And then the next thing is, once you have the answers to all of those questions, you're going to present your program to them. All right. You are not going to ask questions, get the answer, and then try to sell to them. So it's question, sell, question, sell, question, sell. It's a very awkward way to sell. And a lot of people do it that way. And we are not, this is not the process that I'm going to teach you, because it's awkward, it's clunky, and a lot of time it leads to failure because you get lost. So we're going to ask all the questions that we need to know in order to put together a comprehensive package. We're going to put that package together, and then we're going to come back and present that package to them. And if we've done it right, they're going to buy from us. Now you'll notice this triangle represents time. And you'll notice that we spend the bulk of our time up here establishing the relationship and asking the questions. We can't function, excuse me, we can't function if we don't have the information to present the program. Once we have that information, putting the program together is easy, because it's like writing a book, and you're going to write a book that they're going to read because they've told you what they like to read. And then once you've presented your program, if you've done it correctly, you're going to get a whole bunch of incremental small yeses to the big yes of, yeah, I want to do business with you. And there's no set time where you have to stay in any of these four sections. It's wherever you're comfortable and you think you have enough information to move on. All right. So that's how you manage your time. The process, this is the process of selling. It's very simple. First thing you want to do is you want to establish a relationship. That's part of our time. Then the next thing you want to do is you want to ask questions. Now, this is where I'm you in the time process, this is where you're going to spend the bulk of your time. So then after that, now this is the key part, and we're going to get into this in lessons 3 and 4, or lesson 4 and 5. You make a summary statement. So once you've asked the questions, you need to make sure that you've got everything on paper that you need in order to make an intelligent presentation. So you make a summary statement. This is what we've talked about. This is what you said you want to do. This is how much money you have to spend and when you want to go. Is that correct? Yes. Is there anything else? If you don't ask this question, you stand a really good chance of not making the sale. You have to make sure that you have every piece of information, and there may be something you've forgotten. If there is, this is where you can recover that. Is there anything else? If the answer is they say, yes, there is something else, then you go back up here and you keep asking questions and say, okay, super. What is it that I missed? Well, we want to do this. We want to do this. We might have some friends that want to come along. We have to talk to them about it. So so if the answer is yes, you go back to asking questions. Summary statement again. You keep repeating this until the answer becomes no. Now, what I'm talking about here is complicated sales, family cruises, all-inclusive stays, extended vacations. A complicated sale is where this applies. If you're just booking somebody an airline ticket, that's not a big deal. You just get the information they want, book it for them, or anything simple like that. You go through this process. You just do it a lot more quickly. On the complicated sales, what you're going to do is, if the answer is no, that you have enough information to make a proposal, this is where you stop the presentation. All right, because you now have to go back and do the research on all this stuff that they want you to do. And so once you do that, you're going to create your presentation. Then you're going to set a new appointment to come back and present to them and decide what you're going to do. That's it. This is not rocket science. It's not brain surgery. This is a very simple process. And if you follow these steps, and we're going to walk you through every single one of these steps we're going to show you the questions to ask. We're going to give you some summary statements. We're going to walk you through different presentations. We're going to show you every step of the way how this process works. Okay. So the hidden key to your success. Oh, sorry. Go to we have page 2. I should have had you on page 2, so you can walk through this. Now, look over at the next page on page 3. By the way, if you have not downloaded the manual yet, at the end, I'm going to have Amanda show you where you can download the manual. So on those of you that have downloaded the manual, you need to print this out so that you can look at it while we're talking. All right. So what you want to do is, over on page 13 is a series of things that I want to show you. So I just walked you through the establish a relationship, the summary statement, all that other good stuff. Go down to the bottom where it says 5 golden minutes. All right. So 5 golden minutes. This is something that my company, Woolsworth Publishing, developed to help people improve their selling skills. First question, so that you do this, and when you're sitting in your car after the interview, or if you're still at your home, you pull out a piece of paper. What I would do is I would pull out a piece of paper, write this down in a Word document or a Google Doc or something, and print this out and put these questions down there and put it in your folder when you're talking to the people. What did I do right? What did I do wrong? And you're going to know the difference. You're going to know, man, that really worked. Or you're going to go, well, no, that didn't really work so well. I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that again. What could I have done better? And you will always, always have something in there. Well, that didn't work quite right. It was okay. But if I'd have done it this way, then I'm going to try that next time and see how that works. So you're constantly trying to improve your conversation skills, your selling skills, and this will help you to do that. Now, here's the key question right here. What did I miss? And if you did not ask, is there anything else in that summary statement? You're going to have to put 9 times out of 10, you will have to put something in here. And if you did, what you need to do is call them and say, hey, in our conversation, I forgot to ask you this question. So hopefully, if you do this process correctly, then what did I miss? You won't have anything in there. That's your goal, not to have anything in there that you missed. Did I get a referral? Now, you're not going to ask this question all the time. Typically, this comes in at the end of the process when you've concluded your business and you either did or did not get a sale. Either way, you're going to ask for a referral. Remember, I told you, don't worry about people saying no, because if they said no, you say, well, yeah, I'm really sorry we couldn't do business with each other. Do you know of anybody who might be interested in what I have to offer? It's that simple. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. If you did get a sale, it's even easier. Wow, I'm glad you're so excited. You know anybody else that might be interested in what I have to sell? It's that simple. And then finally, did you send a thank you note? Now, a thank you note you need to send, it can be in any form. It could be an email, it could be a phone call, it could be once you've concluded the sale, send a handwritten thank you note. Whether you got the sale or you didn't get the sale, that will carry a lot of weight and show these people that you really, really care. A thank you note on an initial conversation could be an email, phone call, Instagram, whatever is the digital world out there that you can do. So those are some really good things that you can do. This is the 5 golden minutes, and you really need to pay attention to this. This is not part of the selling process. This is part of helping make you a better salesperson. Because what you want to do, and I know most of you have heard this before, we call it avoiding sales insanity, but a lot of you have heard, just how do you avoid professional insanity? It's by doing the same thing over and over, but expecting different results. It's that simple. If you want to be successful, you're going to have to change some of the things that you're doing. This is how you can do that in that program. All right. Now, this I'm going to pound on you probably 3 or 4 times in these 7 lessons. The other hidden key to your success, and the biggest reason you will lose the sale, is because you leave the timing of all of this to them when you're making an appointments. So you never, ever, ever in this lifetime leave a timing decision in the hands of your client, especially when you've made a presentation and we're going to talk about stalls and objections in the last lesson. But a lot of times you get the excuse, well, I need to think about it. Great. I'm here now. Is there something that I can help you? Is there something you're confused about that maybe I can help you? Nope, just need to think about it. Great. How much time do you think you're going to need to process all this information? Oh, I'm going to need a couple of days. I said, I tell you what, today's Tuesday. let's get back together again on Thursday or whenever it's convenient for you, and we'll answer we'll answer all those questions at that time. We can go through the presentation, whatever it is. But you need to be pleasantly persistent whenever somebody tries to put you off on setting that next appointment. It's absolutely crucial. So, and we're going to get into this more and more and more, but I want you to bury this deep in your minds. You never let them take control of the timing decisions on when stuff's going to happen, especially if you're doing this digitally, because if you do, they're not getting back to you. I can almost guarantee it. 95% of the time, they will not get back to you because they're either doing this research on their own and they're just using you to get more research done, or they might be working with somebody else. This happened to me all the time. I would have yearbook advisors call me up, and the only reason they wanted to talk to me was they wanted me to give them a price so they could beat up on their current rep to get their price to get their price down. And I wouldn't play that game. I said, I'm not going to give you just a price. If you want to talk to me about working with us, I'm happy to come in and set up an appointment. When would be a good time? And if they wanted to talk to me, we'd set up a time. And if they said, nah, I just wanted to talk to you about, just price. And I said, okay. When you're interested in actually working with us or taking a look at our program, give me a call. Be happy to set up a time. Or even better, how about if I call you in a couple of months to see how you're doing? And they'll go, okay. So then I would put them in my contact sheet and get back to them in a couple of months, like I promised. So that's how you can do it. Now, one of the things that you're going to start to discover is that you're going to have hot prospects, medium prospects, and cold prospects. And I always called them my pipelines. I had my A pipeline, my B pipeline, and my C pipeline. My A pipeline, I paid a lot of attention to those people. My B pipeline, I was developing them. I was making appointments. And my C pipeline is people I didn't know. I was just trying to get started with them, or they've never shown an interest in working with me in the past, but I would keep contact with them on a yearly basis. So develop your pipelines and continually work those pipelines. All right. So here, this is in the back. This is in the back of your book. These are all of the skills that we are going to be working with you. These are all the skills that we're going to be teaching you. And you can see the general ones. We've already talked about 5 golden minutes and you making the timing decisions. And next week we're going to talk about behavioral styles. The first 3 lessons have nothing to do with selling, but they get you in the position to get set up to sell to your client. This is where we build the relationship. Remember, I'm going to constantly tell you this is a relationship business. We're going to show you how to develop those relationships. Okay, so before we close it for today, Amanda, would you please tell them where they can find the stored videos and the manual?
Of course. So you can find the stored videos and the manual in your Travel Cafe website. Well, first log into your back office, click Travel Cafe, click on Trainings Hub because that's where you find your trainings. So if you're following, again, what is it? Back office, Travel Cafe, Trainings Hub. You want to get started right away, so quick start and then sales certification. So again, back office, Travel Cafe, Trainings Hub, quick start, sales.
Okay, and when you download the manual, wonderful people, notebook. Oops, there it is. I've got mine in a notebook. So you want to be able, while I'm talking, you want to be able to take notes, because a lot of the stuff that I talk about is only in the video and not in the manual. So you're going to have to write it down, because the test questions at the end of the session, in order to get your certification, it's a combination of what's in the manual and what's on the videos. So you need to make sure that you've got this written down, and that you've got, because I refer to being on those page numbers all the time on every single lesson. So Amanda, before we close out, does anybody have any questions?
We do not have any questions at the moment. So if they do have questions, like you said, they can reach out by calling you or giving you an email.
Anytime, people. I'm sitting in my house, retired, fat, dumb, and happy to talk to people anytime they want to call. So that's it for this week, and we will see everybody same time, same place next week. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.